I was tagged into this post from this wife. She simply says, I hate my husband. And she posted this in the advice subreddit saying, I'm struggling a lot right now and need some serious advice. I can't stand my husband. He is overstimulating, overbearing, and being with him feels like a full time job. He is constantly following me around, double checking my chores, lecturing me about how I haven't loaded the dishwasher right, how I'm wasting too much food, how I put too much clothes in the washing machine and now they're not going to be clean. Our relationship feels like a strict father and child, and I feel like the only thing I gain from this relationship is stress and fear of doing something not to his standards. I often feel like I can't do anything right. He is non emotional and often can't be sympathetic. He is a strict father, and our kids do not like spending time with him. It's very, very hard for me right now. He doesn't understand why I don't want to have sex. I'm not attracted to him in the slightest. Jesus, that first paragraph to me says, why are you still with him? The advice I would say, based on this first paragraph alone, is to divorce, start looking at plans and how to get out of this relationship. Because if all you're getting is stress and fear, why are you raising your children in that environment? That sounds terrible. All right. She says, however, I can acknowledge that I am in a chronic state of stress because of our three young children. I often feel like I cannot offer anything of myself anymore because I am mentally deleted. As much as he says otherwise, I'm sure he's in the same boat in regards to parenting with extreme trauma. I know he is overcompensating in all areas because he wants to be taken care of in the way, I'm sorry, he wants us to be taken care of in a way he wasn't. I know that our situation will get better, but it will be about 3 years. It'll be about 3 years before it does. I'm not sure what to do. I'm so unhappy with him right now, and I feel like I cannot express myself to him without him snapping at me. He is not what I need right now, but I know if I stay, it will improve. I'm not interested in other people, so that's not the issue. I'm just not sure what to do right now. I stay home with our children, so it isn't feasible to take a temporary break. If I suggest it, we will not get back together. He's not the type of person that would allow a break. Oh my goodness. She says that if I just stick it out, it's going to get better. And she hasn't shown us anything that says that that is a true statement. Like literally, yeah, I do understand that it is challenging to be in a relationship with young children and being a stay-at-home mom. It is very challenging. This woman is, it sounds like she's going to have to look into see if there are any programs. And I know that this is even sucky to say. There's not a whole lot of programs that might help with daycare costs or subsidizing or finding prices that might help a woman jumping back into the workforce because this doesn't sound conducive to raising healthy children at all. Um, nothing in this says anything about, yeah, this sounds like a great two-parent household. Yay for two-parent households. We like those because stick and stay for the children and all that. What kind of people will they raise being in this type of environment? She says that even if she were to bring something up to him, he's going to snap at her. And she says it feels like he is a strict father to her, not even just a strict father to the kids, but a strict father to her. I mean, if she sticks it out until the kids get old enough to go to school, then, we'll see. But the way it's going, it doesn't sound like this man is open to change and open to even hearing anything about the relationship that she feels strongly about. So I don't think that this is going to be a long lasting forever type of relationship. It's let's get the kids to school so then I can get back to work and see what we can do after that. But y'all go ahead and weigh in. I'm gonna look at a few of these comments though. Grand Wazoo says, but I know if I stay, it will improve. And this person says, how do you know this? Has he expressed any kind of awareness of how he treats you or how it's making you feel? Has he expressed any remorse or intent to work on changing his behaviors? Does he know that you hate him? I don't think you should be assuming anything at this point. First step would be couples counseling. Luna Mysterio says, I'm just guessing, but I suspect she believes the relationship will improve once the kids are in school due to her stress levels. This is false, of course. Hate doesn't go back to love. Burnt and Blistered says, seems to me the primary stressor is the husband. Automatic C says, when he criticizes anything you do, stop doing it. Ask him to do it instead because he knows so much better how to do it. And the crazy thing is, she has three young children. So when you do chores and there's three young children, um, nothing is going to look extremely amazing because kids come back in and mess things up. And if you're hollering about kids being kids in a home, that makes them freeze up and not learn how to express themselves and all of that. Kids are going to be kids. Like literally you pick things up daily, but during the course of the day when you're in the smack dab in the role of mommyhood, nothing is going to look particularly spotless. Robin Noodle says, I don't want to downplay OP's feelings, but I'm not sure she truly hates her husband if she is concerned about staying and that much of their stress is parenting related. I don't know. She says hate, but then the rest of the post doesn't really come off as hate. More maybe just disdain and resignation, maybe a tinge of sadness and a whole lot of exhaustion. Even those words, even those adjectives don't say loving relationship. Nothing about this whole situation says loving environment and healthy place to raise children. Onyx says, agreed. It is I hate my husband, or it's I hate the situation and am at the end of my rope. Not like divorce and co parenting three young kids would be any less stressful. It could be less stressful because if you don't have someone walking behind you criticizing you as you're doing things, that's definitely less stressful than being with these three kids and just living life and not having everything scrutinized as you go about your day. CCC Casian says, just because she's concerned about staying doesn't mean she doesn't hate him. Hell, just because you love someone doesn't mean you don't hate them either. Love and hate aren't polarities that can't exist in one person for the same thing at one time. You can feel both at once. She's concerned about staying likely because society makes women out to be awful for leaving, likely also from something he said, and because they have three children that she doesn't want to take away from their father, even if they don't like spending time with him. She may also be concerned about providing for them on her own or being too much to take care of them on her own, even though often they find it's easier without the dude acting like a jackhole around, to be frank. And in the end, she's still trying to hold on to the person she married and hope it will get better. You can hate them and want desperately for that image to come back. It's complicated. Joy to the World says, no, she hates him. Because of his treatment of her, she hates him. She's mentally checked out from him. He's horrible to her. So, yes, it started as disdain, resignation, and resentment. Those words all have now become hate. Include her sadness, and I'm sure she'd run far away from him, kids included, if she could. Good luck, OP. Yule Big says facts, and Robin Noodle says, I'm not saying she shouldn't leave, but I still don't think she hates him. I'm not saying she shouldn't hate him either. He has given her plenty of reason to feel that way. I kind of agree with Joy to the World. And with that, I'm going to actually end it there. I do want to know what you think. Go ahead and join the conversation, and don't forget to like, comment, and share. We've talked about men wearing masks in relationships or saying things to get a woman to go along to get along. And once he has his hooks in her, the mask comes off, like his beliefs can truly come out and he can be who he really is. So both of the people in this couple are 26. She posted this in the relationship advice subreddit. She says, husband told me he'll never get on a plane despite knowing and accepting I have always wanted to live in Japan. How do I move on for this? She's from this. She says he knew and accepted that this is what she wanted to do. And then all of a sudden now it's like, I'm not going to do this because now they're married. She says, I've been with my husband for 4 years now. So they've been together since they were 22, obviously young. She says, we married last year in October. Our entire relationship, he has known I've been studying Japanese and that I want to move to Japan to teach English. I've been working with tutors for 3 years to learn the language and was planning to start the process of getting a TEFL certificate, teach English as a foreign language. I started looking into programs I could work with after I get this certificate and talking to him more seriously about where I specifically would like to move to. He's never been out of the state before, but has talked about wanting to travel and said he would love to live in Japan. All of a sudden, he just looks at me and asks if we're going to have a long distance relationship. I obviously asked what he meant by that, and he goes on to tell me he's afraid of planes and he could never go to Japan because of it, that I would have to go there by myself and come back regularly to see him. I have no idea why he didn't say anything like this earlier. He knew from the start this is what I always wanted. And now he says he thought I was just going to teach online, that he didn't realize I actually wanted to live there. I don't know what to do. I don't feel like this is something to leave him over, but this is something I've wanted to do since I was 11 years old. My parents never supported the idea, and so I had to wait until I was financially independent and stable enough to start formally learning everything. I put a lot of my time and money into this dream. It was finally within my sight, but he won't budge. He just keeps shooting it down whenever I try to come up with a way for us to move there. He says it's useless to even try. I don't know what to do. Okay, so she has been working on this with tutors for 3 years. They've been together for 4 years. I don't know how he got the miscommunication that she was going to do this online when she said that she wanted to live there. And now it's like he's misremembering things or he has selective amnesia, but he probably just thinks he's decided that he's not going and she's going to go along with what he says or just be unhappy. I don't know. But if this was something that was a life goal, she stated it clearly that this is something that she wanted to do. She needs to figure out how to work around him or just do it, because she is going to be resentful of the fact that something that she has worked for, that has been a dream and a goal, just gets squandered because of him. She's going to be resentful, and it's not going to be good on down the line once they have kids or settle into a routine. Her dreams will just go uncharted, and she already has the ability to do it because she has been working towards this. Now, she said, edit to answer some questions and comments. She says, the biggest one is that the plan was never to move to Japan permanently. We talked in depth about going there for 6 months to a year at first, depending on what's offered to me when I apply, and then coming back for a year or two before doing it again. It was not one-sided conversations. He even said it would make for great experiences for our children when we have them, and thought it would be so cool if our kids could speak Japanese. I've tried many times to get him to learn the language properly, yet he always insisted I could just translate for him. He knows very basic phrases, and I have yet to get him to learn more. I know I was vague, but I didn't think people would assume we didn't have proper conversations about it. Even during the conversation where he was telling me it's useless to look for solutions, he was saying he wished he could go. He has mentioned he doesn't like planes before, but he never went in depth to what extent he doesn't like them. We did talk about a boat a few times while discussing getting there. The conversation always seemed like the answer was that we'll fill it out when the time comes to actually make a decision, not him giving a solid no to either. I very much dislike boats and water in general, but I'm 100% willing to go on a boat if it means we go together. Yes, he has anger issues. I know people will say it's not my job, but I've been working with him to try to get it under control. I'm so tired from working and studying, though, that I've been ignoring him when he's angry until he cools down to come talk to me rather than working through it with him lately. Many people have asked me how he would even come with me and what he would do while there. We were looking specifically into a dependent visa for him. If I were to get a working visa, I should be able to sponsor him since we're married. As for work, he does freelance graphic design online. He can work from anywhere. I hate my job and don't mind having to find a different one when we come back. Some people mentioned it would be social self deletion for him and that I'd be removing him from all he knows. He moved to the other side of the state, away from friends and family, less than a year before we met. He doesn't talk to his family often, and we only see them once a year. In the 4 years we've been living together, he's had a friend visit maybe 3 times. Most of his friends are online, so there would be little change for him in that aspect. I'm not clueless about Japan. I have some Japanese friends online and one friend that I grew up with who has been to Japan many times. Everyone I have personally known who has gone to Japan has said it is absolutely worth it. Two of my coworkers lived in Japan for several years, got married, and their spouses often go back to Japan. I know it's not going to be all rainbows and butterflies. Someone also mentioned something about anime. That's not what fueled my desire. I took a world languages class when I was 11, was praised for grasping the languages so well, got super cocky. I thought I was going to be able to learn every single language, go all over the world, and be super rich just by being able to speak multiple languages. I very quickly learned languages are hard, but it didn't stop me from still wanting to learn. I self studied a much smaller amount of languages for a few years after that before finally deciding to focus on one at a time. My ultimate goal is to be conversational in three foreign languages before I croak, and I would love to be able to visit or live in the countries of those languages for a bit as well. Japan just ended up being the one I found the most interesting. Someone will probably say I don't have to defend myself, but I hate when I tell someone that I'm studying Japanese and they just spew phrases in an anime voice at me. No disrespect to anime, it's just not the reason why I want to learn the language and live in Japan. They're cartoons. I know life isn't a cartoon. It is getting hard to keep track of all the comments and questions. I'll try to go through them better and answer what I see, but I cannot guarantee I will see everything. I would really like to not give out too much information. It may be irrational, but I don't want anyone I know seeing it and possibly connecting it to me or anything like that. I plan to sit him down and try to have a much better structured conversation about it either tonight or tomorrow. I originally wrote this post not too long after our conversation and was obviously very upset. I guess I was looking for people to share similar experiences and help me navigate through this. I hope to find out why he went from what I perceived to be excited about the whole plan to telling me he's terrified of planes and I guess travel in general, as many have pointed out, and that he'll never go. I will update when I can. Thank you to those who were kind and gave actual advice, and thank you to those who show concern. I'm still a bit angry, but maybe we can talk this through and maybe things will work out. I also talked to my friend about it and he said he would go to Japan with me if I don't want to go alone. So I can still go and see when I'm ready to. So I still have plans to go even if my husband doesn't want to. It's just a bummer. I will have to more likely visit many times without him rather than be able to visit and live there with him for a while. And that's the thing. Some people would rather be homebodies. Some people are more adventurous. You have to be able to know what kind of person you are and then find that person to be with you. But when a person is particularly evasive or doesn't answer correctly, doesn't answer honestly about their intentions, it's hard to make these types of life changing decisions. She needed someone who would be more adventurous and willing to go and try new things. He needed someone that was more of a homebody. He lied to get her to connect with him and marry, but she didn't know that he was lying. So she's going to have to make the decisions that best fit her life and what she wants to do. And maybe she will have to separate from him. Anyways, join the conversation. I know this was long, but join the conversation and comment. So we have to talk more about how women are bullied or face misogyny and sexism in some of these male-dominated roles, even when there are other women around. So I was tagged in this post, and it was posted in the Women in Tech subreddit. She says, "I was bullied out of my role, but didn't leave quietly." She says, "Throwaway. I worked for Germany's largest tech company for the past year and a half and was systematically bullied and sexually harassed by a male tech lead without end. When he was promoted to director, I quit the very next day. Prior to his promotion, I had complained to HR dozens of times and filed a whistleblower report. People in management told me that several people had blown the whistle on this manager and that I was not new or the first. Despite this, nothing was done. In fact, they officially claimed that the things this man had done, such as questioning if a woman should get a bonus if they fall pregnant, expressed disapproval upon learning male colleagues' wives were not doing their laundry, and pointing out the breasts of a female colleague and calling her a slut to mixed company were not against policy. How nice must it be a man and fall upwards at everything? To destroy a team and face no consequences except reward. I can only dream. On my last day, I sent an email to all the women in my product organization warning them of this man. Compliance condemned me for it, but not for him harassing half a dozen women out of their roles. This pissed me off. So I went to the press, and thankfully, Bloomberg journalists took me seriously and published an anonymous story about me and 5 other female colleagues' experiences under this manager. After the article came out, many more individuals spoke about being harassed by this individual and reported his lacking skills and toxic behavior on the layoff. The company has still done nothing about this individual, and I'm sure never will. But I wanted to share my experience because for the longest time, I had been lucky to work at companies with healthy, even split gender distributions and female tech leads. I had never experienced the misogyny within the tech space and saw it almost as a myth until I worked there, where it was all consuming and suffocating. While I was employed there, the CTO had to step down for SAing a woman at a company party, and they sent an email wishing him well after this. It is grape culture top to bottom. There's a deep-rooted issue of sexism at this company, and I genuinely pity any of my female colleagues still having to work for this vile misogynist who keeps being promoted and protected despite his lack of skill, empathy, or professionalism. It sucked to lose my career that I had worked so hard for over this, but I'm also glad I didn't leave quietly. For anyone else dealing with the same, be loud. He might not ever suffer true consequences, but he should at least feel uncomfortable. And that's the thing. That's one of the reasons why I really feel like they need to get people back into the office here in the United States, because men can lack ability. They can be mediocre. They can not know what they're doing. But if they have other people to suck dry, to pilfer from, to colonize their information and their resources, they can fall up. Plus, they get a chance to have people around them, women around them, to hunt, as in prey upon. Because, when you're at home and you work from home, who are you going to harass? Who are you going to SA if you're at home and there's nobody there but you? So that's this woman's experience. And I'm totally sure that other women have experienced this, where they go and they file the claims, they document things, they record what is going on, but nothing happens. But the men can still get promoted and move up the ranks. Cozy Cat Cafe, who tagged me in, says, "Thank you for not going quietly. Management may not do anything, but women are definitely better off knowing than not." The article that she posted was behind a Bloomberg paywall, but someone posted a link for us to click into that is not behind a paywall. It's titled, "SAP Promoted Manager After Repeated Accusations of Harassment." Women who worked for a team lead in the tech giant's Signavio unit say that the company failed to address complaints of bullying and discrimination. SAP says it has a zero tolerance policy for abusive behavior. All right, so let's get into this article. It says, Charlotte quit the day after her boss was promoted. She decided not to leave quietly. On her last day at German software giant SAP SE, Charlotte sent out an email to 65 female colleagues. In the email, seen by Bloomberg, she accuses Florian, her manager, of bullying subordinates and describes sexist and discriminatory remarks he supposedly had made. She also wrote that although she was not the first person to file an official complaint about him, the internal processes intended to prevent such situations had failed. Charlotte is one of 5 employees at Signavio, a Berlin-based SAP unit that develops workflow management software, who claim to have been mistreated by a manager who the women allege has a pattern of targeting targeting female reports. They say that the company didn't take adequate action upon receiving the complaints, instead promoting him from team lead to what SAP calls senior manager or chief expert, just below the executive level. The accusations made weeks after board members Jürgen Mueller stepped down for engaging in inappropriate behavior at a company event suggests that SAP's issues of manager behavior and discrimination against women remain deeply rooted. Florian, who still works at SAP, didn't reply to phone calls or multiple requests for comment sent by email and text messages services. SAP said in an email statement that it takes all allegations of misconduct extraordinarily seriously and has a zero tolerance policy for abusive behavior of any kind. This article is based on internal company documents and multiple conversations with the women. To protect them from professional and personal retaliation, they are referred to by aliases in this story. The manager's name has also been changed to protect his privacy. SAP, which has more than 100,000 global employees and makes a third of its revenue in the US, is predominantly led by a clique of white male German managers, often referred to internally as a boys' club. According to current and former managers and employees, several of the top men, including the chief executive officer Christian Klein and board member Thomas Sergersig, have known each other since the earliest days at the company and never worked anywhere else. Some, such as Florian, studied at Hasso-Plattner Institute, HPI, a Potsdam university-affiliated foundation funded by SAP co-founder and billionaire Hasso-Plattner Mueller. The former board member earned his PhD there, and Signavio spun out the institute before SAP acquired it in 2021. Because of this, several and current former female managers told Bloomberg News that they feel as if most innermost circles of power at the company are nearly impossible to break into. The women who have done so, they added, have not lasted long. There's currently one woman on the company's 5-person executive board, and of the 6 women who previously served, company filings show that 5 have left before their contracts were slated to end, and 1 completed her term but did not renew her contract. In October 2019, when Jennifer Morgan was named co-CEO of SAP, she became the first woman to ever take the helm of an organization listed on the DAX, an index of Germany's 40 biggest companies. She served alongside Klein, who had also been appointed. The co-CEO structure was disorganized and, at times, chaotic, a person with knowledge of the matter said at the time, and the pair disagreed on key issues from the start. Klein said in an interview in 2020, Morgan left 6 months after starting in the role. Disproportionately male leadership is not unusual at tech companies nor in Germany, where women remain underrepresented in the highest positions of power. A recent study by the Institute for Employment Research found that as of 2022, women occupied only 28% of top management roles in Germany, an increase of 3% since 2004, placing it at the bottom third of all EU companies. Germany is definitely behind many other workplaces where it comes to combating sexism in the workplace, says Stephanie Lohas, who manages a nonprofit, EAF Berlin, which researches gender in German business and politics. We see this in all kinds of indices, such as lower number of women in leadership positions and the larger gender pay gap. The accusations against Florian are the latest to raise questions about SAP's culture. A high-profile human resources manager agreed to leave SAP about a year ago after the company conducted an internal probe into the HR manager's aggressive leadership style, according to German media reports. And in 2022, 2 employees of SAP's California-based Ariba unit, which sells payment and supply systems to corporate clients, accused human resources of mishandling claims that they had been drugged and raped by coworkers during work trips. At the time, the company encouraged the women to contact the police and said in a statement to Bloomberg that it took actions deemed appropriate for the accused employees. SAP declined to comment on specific cases or actions related to the situation at Signavio. It described its internal investigatory processes as robust, adding, if we ascertain that employees' behavior contradicts our policies and values, we take appropriate action. It says, read more. Okay. The women who claim to have been targeted by the manager all come from outside the Western Europe and don't speak German. These people told Bloomberg that their status as foreigners left them particularly vulnerable to discrimination at a company where speaking German is an asset. In several cases, their legal status in Germany was tied to their employment at SAP. They uniformly say that their troubles at SAP started while Florian was their manager, prompting them to transfer teams or leave the company. Florian's basic pattern, the women say, was to isolate them from colleagues and criticize their work without providing detailed feedback about what they had supposedly done wrong. Two people who reported to him said while he didn't target all women, he did lash out at those who stood up to him. On at least two occasions, the women, he said he told female employees that others at the company had complained about their work or behavior. When those women who then contacted the people who had allegedly raised concerns about them, they were informed that Florian had made up the claims. They said in interviews with Bloomberg. He also undermined them in other ways, they said. Experienced female designers had meaningful projects taken away from them and given to a male intern, according to two women who recall Florian speaking openly about how less qualified people would do a better job. So this article is long and this writing is very tiny, so I am about to still try to push through some of this. It says, Florian sometimes modified female employees' work without telling them, the women said, making it difficult for them to know whether the features they designed would still function properly. He once presented a designer's work without alerting her ahead of time, one person said, blindsiding the woman in a meeting she had thought she would lead. The women told Bloomberg that when they talked to human resources, their complaints were elevated to the company's compliance team, which investigated the cases but eventually closed them. In one instance, the woman said a female employee was encouraged to look for a position outside of Florian's team. At the end of 2023, the company began to take disciplinary actions against the manager, according to the women. On two separate occasions, Florian was banned from direct communications with female reports and told to talk to them via human resource channels. One woman says, that didn't change his behavior in any substantive way. Two of the women said, nor did it deter his rise in the company. Charlotte, an experienced designer, started working for Signavio in August 2023. She stayed for about a year before leaving on account of what she described as Florian's pattern of bullying and mistreating employees and his misogynistic remarks. One incident made a particular impression. 3 months into her employment at SAP, Charlotte was having lunch with her team in the company's cafeteria. She recalled that a colleague arrived wearing a button-down shirt, which was seen as overly formal in the Berlin office. After being teased for it, the man said he was out of clean t-shirts. Florian responded by asking why his wife hadn't done his laundry. At that same lunch, Florian started a discussion about whether women who go on maternity leave should receive bonuses for the year in which they start their time off. The men in the group emphatically said no, Charlotte recounted. At the time, she outlined the event in the correspondence with a colleague that she shared with Bloomberg. Later that winter, at a company party, Florian openly pointed out the breast nipples of another female designer in front of several other employees. Charlotte wrote in a whistleblower report to the global compliance team months later. The document seen by Bloomberg alleges that the manager accused the woman of being provocative and unprofessional because her nipples were visible through her. Okay, so these letters are very, very small. So I'm going to stop there. We can see the pattern of what is going on and how this man is not going to be disciplined and how many men get away with this type of stuff all the time. People ask why women don't report things. And a lot of times it's because things like this happen where even when you do report, nothing happens to the men. Anyway, join the conversation. Let me know what you think about all of this. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.